So before we start, let me ask you two questions. So how many of you have a name, a foreign name that is other than your given name? If so, please raise your hand. Oh, nice. I see you guys here. And second question is, have you ever corrected other people's pronunciation of your name? How often does that occur? Yeah? Okay, good. So yes, for me, my answers are yes to both. So many of us know that the importance of a name and also connecting students is a very important part of teaching in classroom. And students feel better when they know that their teacher cares and the teacher can show that they are caring their students by learning to pronounce students' name very correctly. So that's why we're having this session today. It's called The Importance of a Name. So my name is Kaiyang, or I go by Christina. I'm currently a fourth year. Actually, I graduated 2 days ago. Yay. Thank you. Yeah, so I graduated, but I study both economics and international business here. I'm originally from Beijing, China, and I've been in the United States for the past 8 years. So yes, here's our other cohort.
Hi, everyone. I am Priyanka Mehta, and I'm from India. And I am a graduate student majoring in clinical research. I already have experience as a senior drug safety specialist in Parexel International, which is a CRO. In addition to that, I'm working here as an ISPO graduate student affairs intern. And we heard about this event, and we thought of the idea that why not to have an event on importance of a name. Your names are special. You are special. So that is why we are here to have a talk on the importance of a name.
So for our meeting today, so first I'll introduce the student body here in San Diego to show you how diverse our student body is, and afterwards we'll talk about the importance of pronouncing a name correctly, and also share stories of us having our names mispronounced, and also we'll give you some pronunciation tips on how to pronounce Chinese names as well as Indian names, but we're not excluding other names because we don't have representation today, but feel free to search online and then to help other students feel included and feel their names are valued as well, and then we'll open the conversation with the audience to have you feel engaged as well. So without further ado, let's get started.
Yeah, before going to who are our students, I forgot to ask about and mention about my ethnic dress and this dupatta. So this dupatta, if you can see, it's on the stage, and it's basically done by the rural women. This is a handmade dupatta, which is embroidered on a cotton cloth, and it takes almost 6 months for rural ladies to make one dupatta. So this was gifted by my in-laws on my wedding. So I thought to brought this here to just show you my culture. And this is my Indian suit. I'm wearing an Indian suit. This is a 3-piece cloth. Unlike difference, we have formal outfits. So in India, a formal outfit is an Indian suit. So I thought to wear in my own culture. And now moving ahead with who are our students. As per the International Students Fall 21 snapshot, there are a total of 8,951 students in UCSD. Out of them, 5,387 are undergraduates, and the rest are the graduate students. From these figures, we have seen that out of top 10 countries of new incoming students, we have primarily students from China and India. So today we are mainly focusing on Chinese and Indian names and their pronunciation. Why we think that pronouncing name is important? Maybe a person is named after a grandparent, or maybe their name has a unique history behind that. Or it could be rooted in a language, culture, or religion. For example, I can take my own example. My name is Priyanka, and my name was given by my relatives. I was the first child in my maternal family. So the meaning of Priyanka means the one who is loved by everyone. So that's why they kept my name as Priyanka. So it's very important to have a respect and importance to individual name. Sometimes the names are representative of one's culture, heritage, race, and overall identity. Names are beautiful, as you are. They are special and are so much a part of our identity that if we don't make that extra effort to get the names right, we are really excluding others. Hence, pronouncing names is an important effort to create an inclusive society, a way to emphasize safety and belonging. Now, hands over to Christina.
Great, thank you, Priyanka. And also, let's now show a clip of students who around the world pronounce their names and also their experience. Do you wanna share?
While that I really hated my name.
My name is Asmara Leanne Tesfaye Ragoza.
Kabir Chopra.
Homoy Wong.
Tanu Yakupitiage.
My name is Mugu, but I go by Isabel.
I've been called all sorts of things like Kabri, Kaber, Kaber, Kareem, even Sam.
People just are like, what? Kanu? Tanya?
Homui, Hoi Moi,
When I was a kid, people would say Esmeralda.
Mugi, Muge, Muged.
I don't think it's that hard, so it's really frustrating.
It feels pretty terrible. Yeah, it just makes you literally feel unseen.
I understand if someone has a hard time pronouncing a name once or twice, but there is also the way in which people just like don't try because your name is somehow like more complicated than like an easier Western name.
My mom named me Kabir after the Indian poet named Kabir. And in Arabic, Kabir actually means great.
My name is translated from Cantonese into English. The Moi part means plum blossom.
I grew up in an entirely white household. My father is from Eritrea, which is where I got the name because my name is the capital of Eritrea. But I didn't grow up with him. My name was the only piece that represented this other part of my family.
Teachers would, on the first day, do their roll call for the first time, and I'd say 50% of the time they didn't even try. They would just go, ho, and then kind of expect me to finish.
The minute I would see people start to freak out, I would just raise my hand and say, present. There was a lot of like anxiety and a lot of kind of feelings of shame. Like, why didn't I have an easy name?
Sometimes people would avoid talking to me just because they are afraid of offending me.
There was one time when I was younger when I decided that I was just gonna change my name to Tina because, you know, like everybody loves Tina. It's like, maybe I should just be a Tina until I think one of my parents was like, what are you doing? That's not your name.
In second grade, I started using my middle name, which is Leanne.
In college, I decided to just go by Homie because it was easier.
It was my choice, but it also felt like I had a deep sense of loss that I couldn't name or understand fully.
As I got older, I started to appreciate my name more and the meaning behind it and how beautiful it is.
One day in community college, I just let the teacher say my first name and didn't correct them. I just remember this moment of deciding that I wasn't going to go by my middle name anymore.
Now I like it. I force people to say my name or I'll spell it out, and I might take out the hyphen, but I'm always like Homui, Homoi.
One day I just realized I want to name myself, and not everybody gets to name themselves. So for me, it was actually a pretty fun process. I wanted a really long name, and so I called myself Isabel.
I think there just is this identity piece that is so central to figuring out who you are, how you're representing yourself, how you're presenting yourself.
My name is Homoi.
Kabir.
Isabel.
Tanu.
Asmara.
Okay. Yes, as many students tell, their names represent their culture and also they're part of their identity. So now we're moving on to share our stories of being an international student here and having our Western and also our own given name pronounced wrong.
So I want to ask Christina first, can you share us with something like if you have any personal experience with having your name or someone else's name being continuously mispronounced, or have you or a peer experienced a staff member or a teacher mispronouncing your name? What was that like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that happened to me quite often since I came to the United States. So my original name is Kaiyang, but when I was 14, I came to the United States for high school, and then my teacher asked me, "What's your name?" And I tried to teach him how to pronounce Kaiyang, and it turned out to be relatively difficult for them to pronounce. So I just came up with a random name because I saw it on a TV show yesterday. So I just say, you can call me Christina, and then afterwards, that name stick. And then my original given name was never called in the United States again. And then whenever I can go back to China or to my parents, they call me by my given name. I feel like kind of there's a distance between me and my name, and sometimes I didn't even realize people are calling my name until they are calling like 4 or 5 times. So that's when I realized that how names could play a very important role in our identity, and how you choose to display different versions of different names that could really affect how you view yourself as a person and also your identity. Another interesting story I would like to share is that in my freshman year, this is a positive experience. It's Colin. He is our dean in Marshall College. I think he recently left, but before he asked me, Christina, what do you prefer to be called? Do you prefer to be called Christina or Kaiyang? And I told him I prefer to be called Kaiyang. Afterwards, he always called me Kaiyang, and for the entire year. So for which I really appreciate him, and I still stay in touch with him. So that's a little bit of story about my name. But let's ask Priyanka. So have you ever got your name mispronounced?
Yeah. So I have many names in various countries. So my name was mispronounced as Priyanka, Penka, Mehta, Panka, Mehta. So whenever I give an order to the Starbucks or a restaurant reservation, they always call, Priyanka, your order is ready. It's frustrating, and it feels embarrassed also whenever my husband is with me. He says, always use a nickname of yours. I said, why? Why should I use my nickname? So another experience is I got social security number. I went for the interview, and unfortunately, I got my name incorrected on that document. So it is very problematic and time-consuming to correct your name on the social security card. And I went for another interview just to recorrect the spellings of my name, and I haven't received. It's been a whole quarter I'm struggling with that, and I'm not able to get it done correctly as of now. Yeah, so this is seriously a bad story of mine. So some of the general pronunciation tips I would like to share with you. Have students say their own names first. By just saying, if I'm a teacher and she's a student, I can just ask her, could you please pronounce your name for me? It would be very helpful for me throughout the whole quarter. Or, how do you pronounce your name, Christina? Or we can ask them. And whenever she has given her name, make sure that I will repronounce the same name and should reassure with the student that whether I have pronounced your name correctly or not. And another point is in emails and business documents. So many a times I have seen and I have experienced personally that my name has been incorrectly spelled in the emails and in the legal documents. I just share an example. So it is not bad if you revert the same person, maybe it's your supervisor or your manager, just by saying that I really acknowledge the email, but I would just like to add that the spelling of my name is this, and if you could recorrect that, it would be really appreciated. And no one feels bad about it, so don't ever hesitate to do so. And write down the pronunciation of the name. I will be showing this example in the last video we'll be sharing at the end. And a teacher can also say, forgive me, could you please remind your pronunciation, please? So let's focus on the Indian and the Chinese names. So I'll be taking over the Indian names. There are some rules or some tips to pronounce Indian names correctly. First is, if we break down the name into pair of vowels and consonants, for example, I have a name as Siddharth and Samir. So let's take an example of Samir. So some people in US, they say Samir, Samir. So if we break down this name as Sam and Ir, it makes a correct pronunciation of Samir. And in Indian language, most T's in the name are used as soft T's, not like tiger. It's like T and H, as in think or three. It is similar to a soft T. Also, very similar for names that start with D or DH. It's soft D in most cases. That is Nitin. Would be pronounced as Nathan, then just as a thick thin. Also, the last tip is The vowels in the names as almost always pronounced as stretched out versions. For example, I have R-A-J. We have 5 vowels, A, E, I, O, U. So take an example of 1 or 2. So there is a name called R-A-J. In US, people might pronounce it Raj or Rage. But as I told earlier, that in A, we can say A. We have to give a stretched out version. So the correct pronunciation is Raj. If you can see R-A-H, Raj. And then take an example of E. That's I. So it's not like it. So it's pronounced as E. I have an example called S-R-I. It will not be pronounced as cry. It can be pronounced as Shri. That is S-H-R-E-E, like 3. Yeah, and the last example I would take is U. So in India, it is pronounced as U. For example, I have a name U-R-V-A-S-H-I. It is not pronounced as Yorvashi. It is pronounced as Urvashi. So breaking down your name in these blocks, it's really helpful to have a correct pronunciation of Indian names. Now, Christina would talk about the Chinese names.
Thank you, Priyanka. That was really helpful. So for those of you who are not very familiar with Chinese, specifically Mandarin and also Pinyin, here's some tips that will help you to pronounce Chinese students' names. So as many of you know, Chinese names, it starts with a surname, mostly in the beginning, and it's one single syllable, followed by a given name, normally followed by like 1 or 2 syllables. So that's how a name is consisted in Chinese. And also, if you want to spell out Chinese students' names, they are usually spelled out in Pinyin, which is quite different from our alphabet. So it was firstly invented in 1950s and also adopted in China in 1958. So basically, Pinyin is a system that uses letters from the Latin alphabet to transcribe Mandarin Chinese sounds. So the fundamental Chinese morpheme is a combination of initials, finals, and also the tunes. So speaking of tunes, let's do a little more knowledge, just so you're interested. So the tunes are basically 4. There are 4 basic tunes in Chinese. So there are, as you can see, the neutral, and then like rising, and then there's a like slash, and then there's a down sloping. So that's normally what it shows in Chinese alphabet and also on our phone when we're typing. So it helps you to understand like the tone of Chinese names. For example, my name is Kaiyang. So the Kai, it starts with the 3rd tone, which is do a Kai. But if you do it in other tones, it will be Kai, Kai, Kai. Kai. So normally there are 4 tones in Chinese. Also for the additional one, it's a neutral tone. Normally this is pronounced very lightly and is not used normally in names, but also in our general conversation when we're talking with others. So those are the 5 basic tones in Chinese. And also this creates a visual representation of the changing pitch in our names. And the below is an example. For example, Beijing is a city, the capital city of China. As you can see, the 3rd tone is placed on the first vowel in the name, and also Jing is the 2nd syllable, so it's placed on the first one as well. But normally, because our tone is not represented in computers and also not in international writings, we usually put numbers behind it to emphasize this is the 1st or the 2nd or 3rd or the 4th tone. So Bei is the 3rd tone, Jing is the 1st tone. So you could see that in some of the academic research readings that you see there. So those are basic information about Chinese names. And also here are some tips of how to pronounce students who have a Chinese names. I have 6 here that are very common in our names. For example, the first one is Qiu. In China, it's very similar to pronounce as Qi. For example, some example including Qi, that's the first one here. And then Qiu, that's my last name, is pronounced as Qiu. And then Qu, and the last one is Qiang. So Q is pronounced more like cheese sound. And the second one is Z/CH. So these are different in our names. So with the first one without the H, it's more like Z. And the second one is Zhi. So as example would be without the H would be Zhen, with the H would be Zheng. And then Zhao, Zhou, and the last 2 are Zhan and, that's the wrong. Without the H is Zhan, with the H is Zhan. And the last one would be Zhang, which is a very common surname in China. And the third example is C and CH, very similar to C and CH. One is C is very light, and then with the H is ch. And so the example would be 菜 without the H, and then with H is 长. So the number 4th tip is that with S and SH. So those three are very similar, but with the add of H in it, it makes me a longer or with a stronger pronunciation to it. For example, S would be sha, and then with H would be sheng. So let's move on to the next one. It's XI. So normally XI is pronounced as she. So for example, there are two names that are very common in Chinese names. Is Xiang and then Xian. That start with X. So all those tips I gave you are for the initials of our surnames. And then the last one is G. It's pronounced like the G in garden or the G in egg. So it's in Chinese surname, it would be Ge or the Geng. So those are some tips to pronounce Chinese names. Okay. So now we want to ask you a question. So what has worked well for you in your experience? How or some practices that you would like to share that help you to pronounce students' name here? Anyone want to share? Yeah, go ahead. Oh, do we have a microphone? Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing, and that's very helpful. Anyone else want to share their best practice? Yeah. Oh, no? Oh, okay.
Can you hear me now? Okay. A lot of people call me. Is that working? Yeah. Okay. I can't hear myself somehow. Anyway, a lot of people say Sarah. I'm like, no, I'm not Sarah. I'm Sadab. Can you say Sarah with the B at the end? And then people say, oh, Sarah with the B at the end. I'm like, no. It's Sadab. Can you say Sadab? It's kind of hard. I understand with the Spanish R if no one could say the Spanish R, but little things like that I have to always repeat myself. No, I'm not Sarab. I'm not Sarah. I'm Sarab. Can you say Sarab? So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Yes, really appreciate that. The next one.
So this is kind of an icebreaker for you all. We are giving you 4 names, and I just want you to try out, like from our previous slides, if you can just practice or pronounce these names.
Yes, feel free to turn around to people next to you and practice.
Yeah. You can talk to each other, you can discuss.
How do you pronounce this?
Anshul.
Gotcha. Do you want this?
Give them 2 minutes.
Let's give it a more minute.
Yeah. So we'll give you 2 minutes to discuss, and then we'll be disclosing the answers.
It's shorter than we expect. It's faster.
We got much time, so it's a video. So
Yeah.
please after this answer, we can take a video. That's you can skip one.
So we go back to
No, it's on the Firefox.
Okay.
You don't need
So
to
the
go back.
second one. So the 2 minutes one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, all right. People are
Yeah,
enjoying.
but the thing is, it's very weird to insert a video here. Do you think that's...
No, it's very good.
Okay.
Usually we're not
Do you want to
connected.
show it? Because I don't know
I
what
can
it's
show. No, I can do that.
Do you want to try this too? Mine? Like the Chinese too?
Cheeky.
Yeah, this is our intern 初期. 初期.
Chuchi.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That one is 预科.
I will have it. I'm bad.
Let's see how many minutes do we have. Maybe 1 more minute.
1 more minute.
Conversation dies. Maybe we should give more examples.
Yeah. I think we can ask them. So, does anyone wants to share?
Yeah.
What's your outcome?
Take a shot.
Yeah, feel free to share. Please take one moment then.
Yeah.
Sorry? Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'll be opening the answers soon. So, any other thoughts, if anyone wants to try? Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Anyone want to try out the Chinese names here?
Yeah.
On the right? Actually, the second one is one of our interns at ISPO. I just use her name because I think it's a great representation of the tips that I just shared.
Yeah.
But yes.
So, anyone wants to jump in, or should I go back to the answers? Okay, so the first is Sanjay. Yeah, so it has S-U-N as a sun and J, Sanjay. It's not Sonjay or Sanjay. The other is Anshul. U-N, un and shul. Shul to the rhyme of bull. Now, she will take the example of Chinese names.
Okay, thank you, Priyanka. So for the first one is Yu Ke, and then last name is Zhang. Okay, if you guys want to pronounce with me, it's Yu Ke Zhang. So yes. And then for the second name is our intern's name. Her first name is Chu. Her last name is Qi. Chu Qi. Yes. So yeah, thank you.
I think it's good time to play another video. It's really motivating.
There's a new focus on diversity and inclusion, especially in the workplace and in schools and other organizations. One simple step we all can take to create a more inclusive atmosphere is to pronounce people's names correctly. If you have a common name, you probably haven't given this a lot of thought until now. But for many others, especially those who don't have white or Anglo-Saxon sounding names, having to introduce themselves can be difficult if it's not a welcoming environment. Ruchika Tolshian is the founder of Candor, an inclusion strategy firm. She says learning people's names and how they identify has always been important.
Getting people's names right is really one of the most simplest and yet one of the most profound ways that we can ensure people feel welcomed and like they're seen, like they're heard, like they're valued.
Mispronouncing names can have some negative effects, especially if it begins early in life. For many, it starts when they're in grade school.
Research has shown that when students have their names mispronounced by teachers, they start to feel a whole bunch of shame about their cultural background. Some of them may even feel disassociated with their cultural background.
Now, there still hasn't been enough research to show what the effects are in people's adult life, but there have been studies about how this affects job seekers. A study by the National Bureau of Economic Research found that applicants with African American names need to send out 15 resumes in order to get one callback, as compared to applicants with white names who only need to send out 10. Now, it can be difficult to correct someone if they're saying your name wrong. Tolshian recommends gently correcting someone without making a big deal out of it. And if you're meeting someone for the first time, simply ask them to pronounce their name.
Once they pronounce it, there's no need to go into a big discussion about what's their name, where does it, or what's the origin of their name.
If it's outside of work or in a more casual setting, it may be okay to ask about someone's name if they're already sharing some information with you.
So, in summary, we are approaching the
school,
end.
My name was always mispronounced, even though it's a relatively simple name.
So, as a summary of this workshop, pronouncing student names correctly is very important. Students can experience negative impacts of having their name regularly mispronounced. Ask students to pronounce their names and listen to them and practice getting it right. Dedicate some class time sessions to teaching lessons that use student names as the content or the assignments. This type of assignment I can show you in this video. This is a video by Name Coach, and they have made an assignment on this website wherein students enter their pronunciation and teacher can use it for the reference in the classes.
Caitlin, Burb, Boab,
Bob.
Does this feel familiar? Use Name Coach to learn how to pronounce your students' names before they arrive. Or create an assignment requiring students to record their names anytime.
Bob.
Bob, Bob.
Simplify introductions. Visit namecoach.iu.edu to get started.
So as we have a lot of time,
you all have your name cards in front of you. We're going to play a little game to see how many beats.
Okay, I'm so sorry. So since we have a lot of time, if you want, we can have a practice on some Indian names or some Chinese names, if you would like. So if any one of you want to try on these names, or if I pull up any other name. Yeah. So the first name is Siddharth, if you want to try. Just looking at the blocks we have made, SID-HAAR and then T. Christina, you want to try?
Yeah, anyone want to give a shot? I would say Siddharth.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Absolutely, that worked. So yeah, it's Siddharth. And another name is Sameer. Sameer, very nice. Claps to you all. That worked, actually. Yeah, and other name I would ask you is under oval, R-O-J-A. It's under the oval, last second line of the slide. Sorry? Roja, yeah. You're right, Roja. Yeah. And I can take the other example. It's A-M-E-Y-A. It's under evol.
Yes, thank you so much for participating. Now let's move on to the Chinese one.
Give me the answer for the next one.
Oh, sorry.
So, if anyone want to try this name, A-M-E-Y-A. Yeah, Ameya. So we are stretching out Ameya. Just we say, Ameya, Ameya. No, it's Ameya. Yeah, that's all the practice for Indian names. Now, Christina will take Chinese names.
Sorry for taking over, Priyanka. But yes, very excited for the Chinese names. So for the Q, I'm gonna pronounce it the initials, and then you guys feel free to try the names in the brackets. So the Q is ch. So anyone wanna take a try at the last four, or just randomly shout one out if you know? Yeah, go ahead. Or are you raising your hand? Sorry. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, the first one is Qi. Yes, that's nice. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead. Yes, I definitely, yes, we can do that. So the first one is Qi, yes. The second one is Qiu. That's my last name. Yeah, so Qiu. Yes, thank you. It's Qiu. I've heard a lot of my friends who are Americans who thought it would pronounce as Kui, which is very normal because the queen, like, it starts with Q, so I totally understand. But it's Qiu. And yes, the third one is Qu. Yes, and the fourth one is Qiang. Yes, correct. Yes, the second one is Z和Ch. Z和Ch. So the first two are Zhen. Yeah, the one with H is Zheng. So Zeng和Zheng. Sorry, that's Chinese. Zeng and Zheng. Yes, and then the second one is Zhao. Yes, that's correct. Third one is Zhou. Yeah, the fourth one is Zhan. Oh, that's the same, sorry. That's Zhan. The last one is Zhang. So the difference between the fourth one and the fifth one is with the G. The first one is Zhan. The last one is more with an open your mouth a little bit, so it'd be Zhang. Yes, so that's the difference. The third one is with C and CH, so Z 和 Ch. So the difference, one will be Cai. Yeah, that's if you have a friend who's from Hong Kong or from Taiwan, that's normally spelled as TSAI, so it's the same, but this in Mandarin China or in the mainland, it's mostly with C. So Cai, and the last one is Chang. Yeah, depending on the tone, it could be Chang, 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 Chang. So it depends on which the surname of the student you're working with. It could be any of those. And the fourth one is S and SH, will be sh and sh. I know it's very similar, but one is the one with S is normally not very well represented in the initials of our name, but it could normally have the SH, could be more prevalent. So sha 或者 sha, yes. And the second one is sheng. Yes, that's correct. And the next one is XI, it's pronounced as she. So when it's in putting names, it's called xiang, the first one. Xiang. Second one is xian. Yes. And the last one is G. It's more like garden, the G, or the egg, the G. So if you want to pronounce your name, it's Ge. The last one is Geng. Yeah, my friend's name is Geng. So yeah, that's very hard to pronounce. So yeah, thank you so much for trying. Yes. Yeah.
So just to conclude this event with a thought, it's been said that the sweetest sound you can hear is the sound of your own name. I would just like to say you just close your eyes and have your name, just pronounce your own name by closing your eyes and feel the importance of your name. Let's give 30 seconds. Thank you. If we in the US are truly proud of our diversity and intend to be represented by the inscription on the Statue of Liberty, the least we can do is try to pronounce each other's name properly, no matter where we come from or how different the name is from our own. Thank you. Are there any questions? We are here to answer.
Yes. Are there any questions or names of a student that you don't know how to pronounce? It's time to ask them now. Yeah. Oh, yes, go ahead. Can you pronounce C-U-I? Oh, that's Cui. Cui, yes, that's C-U-I. Of course, thank you. Thank you for asking. Any other challenging names come to mind? Yeah, go ahead.
So in this case, if you are talking to a student on Zoom or maybe in the class, you can just ask the student first how he or she is pronouncing their name, and then you can repeat the same pronunciation. And even if you don't get it, you can ask the student to type in the blocks how he or she pronounced their name. And I think that would be really helpful for you.
Yeah, I also want to add on to that point. So for me personally, I really appreciate that you're trying. And then if I, for some reason, tell you that I prefer the English name, I think that would be really helpful to go by English. But I would always appreciate someone to ask, like, do you prefer to go by your Chinese or your given name or the other one? Or if they're like, they don't have a preference, I think that depends on like, if I'm confident in like delivering a name in the given language. So yes, but I will always prefer and acknowledge that someone else is trying to pronounce their name. I will always be very appreciative of that. Yeah. Thank you so much for the questions. Are there any more? Okay, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.